Twilight Princess is a game full of many mysteries that fans have theorized and speculated about for years. From the unexplained stone carvings on the walls leading to Hyrule Castle, to the Death Sword mini-boss found within the Arbiter's grounds, to smaller things like the Interlopers, the few shadow pieces, the Oka, the Fortune Teller in Castletown, and the list just goes on and on and on. But one mystery from this game stands out from all of those to me. The mystery of Snowpeak Mansion. Now, to give you a little bit of context going into this video, Twilight Princess is my all-time favourite video game, and to top that, the Snowpeak Ruins is probably my all-time favourite Zelda dungeon as well. I've wanted to cover this odd and mysterious location for around 2 years now, believe it or not, but for one reason or another, the video just kept getting put off. Whether it was during the Breath of the Wild build-up, after Breath's release, a period of going inactive, sorry about that, and now with the Breath of the Wild sequel hype. But today, we will explore into the mystery of who once owned the Snowpeak Mansion in Twilight Princess. Now, I am not familiar with any current theories on this, and as Twilight Princess is now a 12-year-old game, coming on 13 years old, I don't doubt this has been discussed before, but with all theories, there are often multiple conclusions, ideas, and points of evidence. So apologies in advance if I do repeat anything already discussed that I am not aware of. Feel free to link me to any already existing theories or discussions on the matter. So, the big question. Who once lived in and owned the now ruined and decaying fortress of a home known as Snowpeak Mansion? To begin this theory, we will need to explore and examine the mansion itself to get an idea of what kind of person would have lived here. To avoid any potential confusion, we will be looking at this from the perspective of the HD remake on the Wii U, as it's the most up-to-date version, and to also avoid confusion of which side of the map the mansion is located on. The Snowpeak Mansion is found in a very distant and isolated location from the central region of Hyrule. This colossal stone landmark of a home is tucked away within the top far left hand corner of Hyrule, and can only be accessed in the game through a very small passageway in the north, not too far from Zora's domain. The mansion is so hard to reach that to actually get there, Link must venture up and down a long trail through the frigid and arctic conditions, such as making it across a freezing cold lake with water so cold that it will glaciate him if he were to fall in, enter a cave of darkness filled with some chilling threats, and climb his way out. Once out of the cave, he will meet Yeto, a gigantic yeti who currently inhabits the now abandoned mansion with his partner, Yetta. From here, Link needs to snowboard his way down a daunting mountain range that includes multiple obstacles and jumps, including a massive jump across a drop that would certainly end the hero's adventure if executed wrongly. Already, you can see just how isolated the mansion is, standing alone on its own cold and tall piece of rock. Upon entry, Link enters through these massive wooden doors. The first look of the inside we get is this once massive grand entrance room, now ruined by a gaping hole in the ceiling, broken stairs, and walls beginning to cave in. We can see a red carpet lining the pathways, grand paintings hidden away in the corner, massive suits of armor lining the entrance walls, and some very luxurious looking chandeliers suspended above the floor, which is now infected with ice that has broken from the outside. Instantly, we can tell that whoever once lived here was either rich or associated with someone who was rich, like the royal family for example. If we explore the mansion a little further, we begin to see a lot more paintings of very important locations, most notably being the city in the sky, something the everyday Hylian wouldn't know about. Further into the mansion, we begin to find some very interesting things like these mechanisms in the walls, used to transfer cannonballs? What? Cannonballs? Whilst this comes as a surprise upon your first time seeing it, the further and further you explore the mansion, you will slowly start to realize that the mansion is actually filled with a lot of military grade equipment. We can find various armories containing a multitude of weapons, suits of armor, cannonballs, and even a crest that is presumably the crest of whatever organization once inhabited the mansion. If we check the courtyard out, we can start to get a rough idea of who could have once lived here. The mansion from the inside appears to be more of a fortress. Military gear in almost every second room you enter, cannons on the outside, towers raised high above the ground, and even these mechanisms to transfer cannonballs quickly and efficiently. So it's fair to say that whoever lived here had a very strong defense to their home, but just who could that be, and who would actually need that in such an isolated location? Well, the only person we meet in the game who has a legitimately strong connection to the mansion is Ashei. Her connection to the now ruined mansion is that she grew up within the very same mountains the mansion is located in. She doesn't say if she did or didn't live in the mansion, but that is a fairly popular theory amongst many fans, although it's more speculation. Ashei did say she isn't familiar with the mansion itself, but she is relatively young when we meet her in the game, predicted to be around 24 to 25 years old, so it's always possible she was too young to remember her time living there, but we will cover that later. She does however give us a very important piece of information. She tells us that her father raised her in the mountains and that he was a knight for the royal family. The instant thought there would be that Ashei's father owned the mansion, and that he was a very highly regarded knight, which resulted in him owning the mansion. But I don't believe that is the case here. Ashei tells us that she, personally, isn't too familiar with the mansion, but she is educated with the Snowpeak area itself. Like I mentioned moments ago, her father could have lived there and perhaps moved out once Ashei was born, but stayed within the Snowpeak region, just not the mansion. To help us out here, let's see if there's anything in the real world that we could compare this mansion to. What has multiple armories, large rooms and halls with many bedrooms for people to stay within, tall towers reaching above the main building accompanied by cannons? Well, to me, it almost seems like the Snowpeak Mansion could have been a base of sorts for the Knights of Hyrule, a line of defense if you like. If you think about it in terms of the real world, most features and details match up, with only a few unexplained parts to decipher. The mansion is set quite a ways out from central Hyrule. It has tall watchtowers that look out onto the one and only entrance to the mansion. It's equipped with many cannons and armories filled to the brim with weapons and suits of armor. We see crests that are also found within Hyrule Castle, somewhere where guards of the royal family would have been very heavily populated within. It's definitely clear the mansion has some sort of connection to the royal family, and one of the main points to prove this is some of the paintings inside of the mansion, along with the crest we see in Hyrule Castle and the mansion. We have a painting that captures the entrance to the city in the sky, a city in the sky that is inhabited by the Oka, a race that only the royal family have real strong connections to. Along with that, there is also paintings of the Arbiter's grounds and various important people to the kingdom. These sort of paintings wouldn't be found in any old base for the Knights of Hyrule, especially the one capturing the city in the sky. The relationship between the royal family and the Oka was kept very private, and it's only in recent times that everyday civilians have really come to know about them. And this is made clear by the fact that we see Shad studying and researching about them, implying they are very mysterious nowadays. But if we go back to the fact that Ashei's father raised her in the mountains, where could that actually be? Whilst it could be somewhere non-accessible in the game, when you combine the fact that her father was a Knight of Hyrule and that she grew up in those very mountains, there is a possibility that the mansion was once a home for Knights of Hyrule, perhaps acting as a guard station at the borders of what is considered to be the lands of Hyrule, making sure nobody who poses a threat to the kingdom from the outside of Hyrule gets into the central regions of Hyrule. Or it could have been some sort of training camp for the Knights, isolated far from the main regions of Hyrule. Ashei even says that from a young age her father trained her in combat, almost as if she was being treated like a son and being trained up as a knight, and that she grew up in the mountains. so it's possible that she lived within the night space with her father. It's also possible her father lived up there with or without her mother, which we know next to nothing about, and once Ashei was born, her father moved out to take care of her, and then trained her up with the knowledge and skills he had acquired within the mansion. This could make sense considering Ashei says her father was a Knight of Hyrule, but that could also mean that he is now passed, which is more likely considering we don't actually meet him within the game. Now, we could end the theory here and close off in a statement along the lines of, the mansion was owned by the Knights of Hyrule, but that's kind of vague. Surely there was a set in stone individual who owned or was at the very least in charge. Along with the question of who this armor was for, as it's way too big for a Hylian. To answer the question about the armor, we don't really have much evidence towards why it's here and who used it, but my best guess in all honesty would be the Yeti people. It's sort of a shot in the dark, but going off the fact we know Yetis exist to some degree, and this mansion is located within the snowy and rocky mountains, the home of the Yetis, it's not too bold of an assumption to make, but I can't answer that for sure. We don't know if the Yeti people were in allegiance with the royal family. Maybe this was some sort of experiment, trying to train the Yetis into the Knights of Hyrule system. Who knows? As for who actually owned the mansion or was in charge, you'd have to assume it's whoever lived within this master bedroom, which also doubled as the room for the dungeon's boss battle. My answer to this would have to be that the head knight of Hyrule, or one of the highest ranked knights in Hyrule, lived in this room, and was in charge of the fortress itself, but that's just my thoughts. What do you think about this mystery? Who do you think once owned the Snowpeak Mansion? Let me know down below. Thank you so much for checking out the video. I really hope you all enjoyed this one, as it's been some time since my last quote-unquote theory video, and also because this is a video I've been wanting to do for around 2 years now, and I've finally got around to it. As always, here's the people who managed to guess this video based on the teaser post I put out prior to creating this video. If you'd like the chance to have your name featured here, then be sure to join our Discord server, follow me on Twitter, or check my YouTube community tab to see teasers for upcoming videos, and submit a guess or two. A massive thank you goes to my amazing and wonderful Patreon supporters, as your incredibly generous support really helps me to keep making videos just like this one. So, special thanks to Hexovian, Leonardo1, Keitala, Karika, Safria Sky, Daniel Kelman, Neru's Love 13, Barky Doggo, Arlie Quinn, and M. Your guys' support really means the world to me, and I appreciate it very much. Thank you. Again, I hope you all enjoyed this video, and until the next time, I've been Hyrule Gamer.